Hi, my name's Heather Zeissler. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make cauliflower pizza from scratch. So we're going to start by taking our riced cauliflower, measuring it out into a cast iron fry pan. If you would like directions on how to rice your cauliflower from a head of cauliflower, I have another video available that demonstrates how to do that. The purpose of sauteing the cauliflower is so that we are removing the excess liquid. Our pizza will not be soggy. The directions that I'm following say to microwave the cauliflower for about 5 minutes, but when you do that, you end up with really soggy crust. It's really difficult to bake out the excess liquid. If you notice all the steam coming up off of the cast iron skillet, that is the moisture leaving the cauliflower. So that means that we will have a really nice base for our dough. It's not something you need to stand right over and watch, just be aware it's there. We're going to start by measuring in 1/3 cup of shredded mozzarella. We're going to add in 1/4 cup of the shredded Parmesan cheese. I like the shredded Parmesan cheese over the grated Parmesan cheese because the shredded melts and provides a better binding agent than the grated cheese. I also like to add in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning because cauliflower has this unique ability to take on the flavors of the food around it. And by adding in the Italian seasoning, you're giving your taste buds what you're thinking you should taste when you have pizza. It kind of gives it that little bit of Italian seasoning. So it tastes more like pizza when you go to eat it. We're going to mix it in really well. And then we're going to add in an egg. I'm going to crack the egg into the 1/2 cup measuring cup so that I can check to make sure that there are no bits of shell and that there are no red spots on the yolk itself. I don't need to separate out the yolk and the white. I just want to check it first to make sure that there isn't any shell or red spots. In addition, I chose the 1/2 cup measuring cup because an egg is typically a 1/4 cup, so that gave me a little bit of extra room in the measuring cup so that it shouldn't spill everywhere. I'm going to check the sauteing cauliflower, and that's looking really good. Nice and dry, which is what we want. It sautés faster if you kind of have a larger skillet, keep it at a thin layer versus having a smaller skillet where it's mounded. And by sauteing it, you also get little bits of browning, which add to the color for the finished pizza crust, which is also really fun. Whereas the microwave version, it's just white and soggy. So while this seems like a lot of extra work, it really isn't because it gives you a better crust in the end, so it is worth the extra 5 minutes. Make sure you are following safety protocols if you're using a cast iron skillet, that you don't burn your hand because the handle will be hot. Make sure you mix it really well in the bowl. You want it to be really nicely mixed. And then we're going to scoop it onto a piece of parchment paper on top of a vented pizza plate. One of the things I like to do is to spread this as thin as I can in a circle because when I think of pizza, I think of circles. And I want it to bake all the way through so that the crust becomes crispy, more like a thin crust, traditional pizza, even though it is made out of cauliflower and cheese. It takes a little bit of time to smooth it out to as thin as you can go. And also by making it really thin, you feel like you're eating a lot more because when you cut it in half for your serving size, that's a lot of pizza. So your brain sees that and thinks, wow, I don't know if I can eat all that pizza. And I don't like to waste any bits, so I try and scrape off all of the little pieces and get it nice and smooth. Our family loves pizza night, and they absolutely just adore cauliflower pizza. They actually like it better than the traditional crust pizza. And they were kind of a tough sell on this one. Once we've got it pretty much smoothed out, we're going to put it in the oven to pre-bake the crust. This step is important. If we skip this step, we will have soggy crust. We don't want soggy crust. We want to have a baked crust. And we're going to bake it for about 10 minutes. Okay, our 10 minutes has passed. We're going to pull it out carefully with a pot holder. And we are going to flip it onto a clean piece of parchment paper. Again, very important. Do not reuse your parchment paper. It will be soggy. Carefully peel it off. And then we're going to bake the top half again so that it's a nice, solid, well-baked crust. And this is another 10 minutes. So while this is not the most speedy dish to make, it makes up for it by being absolutely excellent. So once it is baked the second time, we're going to dress the pizza, and we're going to start with a base layer of tomato sauce. And it's a half a cup of I just use plain tomato sauce straight out of the can. I'm going to measure it though, just to make sure that I'm not putting too much on, because I don't want a soggy crust. So when you're putting your sauce on, make sure you're smoothing it to try and avoid any puddles of sauce, because those will provide hot spots when you go to eat it if there's like a mound of sauce somewhere. Now we're going to add a half a cup of cheese as our base layer of cheese. And we're going to very carefully sprinkle it out so that it's pretty even all the way. Try and go to as close to the edges as you can. And then we're going to add in 10 pepperonis. And they're turkey pepperonis because turkey pepperonis have a reduced fat content. But you could use whatever pepperoni you prefer. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now we're gonna put the extras back in the bag. Make sure you wash your hands ahead of time if you're going to be taking food out of containers and putting it back into the containers for food safety. And we're going to finish it by putting our second half of cheese over the top. Some people like to save their cheese and just put the whole cup on top. I find that it melts better and the pizza tastes better if you take the time to split it up and do half a cup on the base layer and then half a cup on the top layer. And again, if you're touching your food, make sure your hands are washed. And we're going to bake this for about 12 to 15 minutes depending on your oven at 400 degrees. I'd like mine closer to the top rack so the cheese gets nice and brown. Okay, here is our finished cauliflower pepperoni pizza made from scratch.